one thing I want you to take away from this video is to never live on someone else's terms. Never let anyone dictate how to live your life on their terms. About 7 years ago, I used to live with my younger brother, and during this time, all I wanted to do was be financially secure and work out. Those was like the two main important things in my life during that time. When I lived with my younger brother, I was a very busy man. I owned two businesses. One was a manufacturing business for e-liquids for electronic cigarettes. You guys ever heard of the vape juice? Well, I owned that manufacturing company. And then the second one was I used to also grow marijuana. And between these two, bro, I was busy. I did not have time to kick it, did not have time for dating, nothing. But the one thing that I made sure that was consistent in my life was working out. Now, that was something that was non-negotiable. It was mandatory. So I always made time for that at least. And between these two things, I was running the whole entire business, and it was just because I didn't know how to scale. I didn't know how to hire the right people to put in place to do the daily tasks that needed to be done. But instead, I took over those roles and I did everything. Now when I say I did everything, that included inventory, manufacturing of the product, shipping, labeling, packaging, customer service call, cold calling to get new clientele. I did all of that for the tobacco company. Granted, I did have a lot of helping hands, but even then, we were just overwhelmed. Our orders were just coming in. We were slammed all the time. There would be days where we were working 16, 18-hour days, 24-hour days, back to back. It was just very hectic. And that's why I didn't have a lot of time to hang out and just build on my social life. But I didn't really care, to be honest. And then, in addition to that, after I was done with that work, I would have to go back and go to the working on growing weed, and that took time, especially the freaking trimming. Once everything was done growing, you'd have to pull, right, let it dry, start trimming the thing, make it look pretty, weighing it out, and then selling it. So it was just an entire process within itself. It took a very long time, and this is why I didn't have a lot of time to kick it. There were days where I allowed myself to hang out once in a blue moon, right? But in the back of my head, I always thought, damn, I need to get back to work because I have a lot of orders to finish. So kicking it for me was a little escape, but even then, I still had to work. So a lot of times I'll just leave early and just get back into grinding. And my younger brother, he saw this on a day-to-day basis. He saw me working day in and day out. And for him, he focused more on hanging out, kicking it, partying. And that's fine. He can do what he wants. But for me, the reason why stability was so important is because I ended up going to prison several years before that. And it wasn't for a petty crime, it was for a violent crime. Someone ended up getting shot, it involved a gun, and I knew coming back home that it was going to be a very difficult path for me to find financial stability. And one of the avenues that was open to me, that's always open to anyone, is entrepreneurship. So when I had the chance to do that, I dived all the way in, and I knew I was going to give 110% because that's how I got down, right? I don't do things half-ass. I go all the way in. I get obsessed. And for me, this business was my obsession. I just became super focused. This is all I wanted to do. He didn't understand that, and the sad part about it is he never even asked me if I needed help. Why is this so important to me? He talks about being humanitarian, about how he cares about people, about humans, about how he's so empathetic, but never once reached out to me. He's like, bro, why is this so important to you, man? Why do you want to make money so much? Why is it that important to you? Well, motherfucker, it's because I don't have the same resources as other people. I can't go to college, get a degree, and then find work. I can't do that. I can't work for the city. One of the things I wanted to do was become a police officer. That was one of my goals, and then become an FBI agent. That is never within my reach now because of my crime, and it involves a gun. And as a police officer, that's one of the requirements, is to be able to obtain a gun license. I can never do that. So you see how my path is a little different than most. And he never once actually cared to actually sit down and talk to me as a person, as a human, as he says he cares so much about. I remember one time we actually kind of got into it. Even though I lived with my younger brother, we lived two complete different lifestyles. He was always going out and I was always working. We saw each other on a day-to-day basis, but our relationship, it wasn't the best. You know, when you live with someone, it's a relationship. You have to be able to get along and have that compatibility. But me and him, we were just two different people. I loved working out and I loved working. I didn't mind putting my head down for 3 4 days, just grinding it out, not talking to anyone, just focus on work. For him, he was more about dating, going out, building his social network, things like that. And I commend him. You do your thing, I'm gonna do mine. I'm not gonna judge you. But for him, he judged me. And I remember one time we got into an argument. We were just butting heads. And he had this built up notion where all I cared about was money. So when we got into it, he had mentioned that. He goes, "Bro, that's all you care about. All you think about is money. All you care about is fucking making money. That's always on your brain. Like you do whatever it takes to step over somebody to make money, right? This is the reason why you have no friends. This is the reason why you don't go out. This is the reason why you're gonna die alone." Whoa, bro, I was taken aback, man. And I didn't say anything. You know, when it gets into these arguments, I get very quiet. I'm not one for a lot of words, but I am one for a lot of action. And when he said that, I kind of just stepped back a little bit and I just looked at him. I didn't say a word. And immediately he goes, "Damn, bro, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to say that." And I just walked away. You know, one of the best lessons I learned as a human being is that we are creatures of habit. So when somebody says sorry, most times they don't mean it. It has to come from a place connected with emotion. And when it's not connected with emotions, those sorries just are meaningless because people tend to do the same things over and over and over. So when he said sorry, I knew he didn't mean it because he already had built up this notion in his head about how he perceives me. So I just took it with a grain of salt. I kept doing me, he kept doing him, but I will never forget that day. And I know that for him, he wanted me to go out, have friends, be social, live like him, but that just wasn't my life. So, what I want you to do today is if there's anyone trying to tell you how to live your life, someone that's trying to dictate how to do things, you know, and especially nowadays with the advancement of technology, we have social media, we have all these platforms with advice of these coaches trying to tell you how to live your life. Do this, you need to do that as a person, do XYZ. Do what is right for you, what you feel is connected here in your heart and here in your mind. You got to make sure it aligns with how you're feeling. So today, just ignore all the distractions, ignore everyone else, and live your life how you feel is going to best serve you in here and align with yourself.